This has probably been my favorite small acts. My name is Sophie Hannah and this is the CINE vlog, which is a vlog all about films, film reviews and everything to do with films. And today I'm going to be talking about the fourth film in the Small Act series by Wonder director Steve McQueen called Alex Wheatle. Now before I go any further, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and press that red button now, and also to follow me on social media. But back to Small Acts. Now in terms of the plot, we start off by seeing Alex, the title character, who is actually a real person. So this is a factual based on a true story. So Alex is in prison and we don't know why. And then it goes back into time to recount how it is that he ended up in the place that he was. It started off by him being put into care in 1960s Britain, then moving to Brixton, and where it ends up taking us to is the Brixton Riots. Okay, so that's all I'm gonna say about the plot. This has probably been my favorite Small Acts film of the series so far. This one just hit an emotional punch that just knocked me out, to be honest. So the first pro for me would be how this film really looked at various social systems and how they treated black people. And the ones I'm specifically talking about is the care system, and how a young boy, Alex, growing up in the 1960s, what that would have been like for him, or what it was like for him. It then looked at what schooling was like, and there is this really powerful scene where Alex has a fight in school, and then the way that they discipline him, unbelievable. It's so unbelievable that it had to be true. I just really love how Steve McQueen really literally focused in on this moment. I was just really glad that he put a lens and a big focus on these various systems and how they have been prejudiced towards black British people and how people have been using them to abuse the rights of human beings. The second pro for me, because Alex is a child who grew up in foster care, he's then moved to Brixton to kind of branch out on his own, just to show that transition from Alex growing up in a predominantly white area to now being entrenched in black culture. And I think he's very excited by it because he's seeing people who are like him. But then there's also that shift in cultures. There's a specific part when he's in the barber shop and they say to him, yes, you are an African. He's like, oh, I'm not an African, I'm black, but I'm from Surrey. And just that, him trying to understand what it meant to be black at that time and see how other black people viewed themselves, and just how lonely it can be when you're someone who is seen as an outsider to black culture. And it really made me think about what makes somebody black. If you're from Caribbean descent or from African descent, then in our day and age you are black. But when people don't grow up in stereotypically black areas and they don't have those outward appearances of being black, it can be very isolating. And I really liked how this film kind of took a look at that. The third pro for me would have to be my favorite thing from this film, and probably my most favorite moment out of all of the Small Acts. It's when the film touches on the new Crossfire that happened in Britain, in London, where a house full of 13 young black people were killed, and they said it was a racist attack. Nothing really ever came of the investigation, and it was just so powerfully put together by Steve McQueen. And it was just black and white photographs of people protesting, of people marching to talk about what had happened in the new Crossfires, and then it was overlaid with a poem. It was so powerful, it shook me to my core. There's much more of a focus of these things happening in civil rights America, but to show exactly how they have happened in our country, in our culture. And one of the questions that my husband had as we talked about it was like, why does nobody ever talk about this? Why are we not told about the new Crossfire in school? Why are we not told about how people lost their lives, about race attacks? Why don't we hold this up about this is the ugly past that we have, and this is the thing we need to be moving forward from, to kind of learn from this and make sure it doesn't happen again. And I really love how Steve McQueen took about 3-4 minutes just to really focus in on this atrocity, but it was just done in such a poetic way. I also loved how the film looked at rioting and the Brixton riots that happened, and it really spoke to me about the riots that we saw happening in America this year, about riots that happened in any part of the world, and just really showing that they come out of unrest and people who a lot of the time just haven't been treated well, who feel that they have no other outlet And I think it just really poses some important questions when we only focus on televising riots and saying, you know, it's people out of control, but not talking about what has led to this point. And I guess the last pro for me, before I go on my whole spiel about injustice and racism, would have to be the acting. The actor who plays Alex Wheatle, for me, is just standout in this. He is just an actor to watch. His name is Shay Cole. There's times when we're just seeing the camera just taking a slow pan into his face, or he's just walking down the street crying, and you can feel exactly what it is that he's feeling and thinking. I also liked Robbie G as his cellmate, and he really brought a sense of comedy and humor. But all of the supporting cast, everyone has been great in this. Now, in terms of the cons, there was only one for me. I really wanted to see more of the Brixton riot stuff, and it felt like the new Crossfires honestly could be a film within itself, because I know very little about it. There are things that really could be explored wider in this. So about what foster care was like for the black community in the 60s and 70s, or what schooling was like, and things are touched on very slightly in here, but I really wanted to see more of that kind of context and history around it. But I can see that the film was only really trying to focus on Alex and not so much the Brixton riots or the new Crossfires, but really this young black man who was going through life and all these things that were happening around him. But I just think just seeing bits of black history always makes me want to see more. So you can take that as a con or not, but let me just move on to the ratings, because that's where I'm really going. And I rate my films according to burgers, because I love them. And out of a total of 5 burgers, I would give small axe Alex Wheatle 4.5 stars. And you know that is high for me. I really love this. Steve McQueen, to put all of this together to tell such a great story in 1 hour and 9 minutes, and to know that Alex is really a symbol for all of the people who had to go through various things at these times in these decades, and also mirrors people who are going through very difficult situations now, who are trying to deal with prejudice and what it means to be black. Again, it's beautifully shot. Everything just works so well. 4.5 burgers. This is one not to miss. Now, I always like to end my vlogs on a question, and today's question would be, what is your favorite civil rights film? Now, civil rights anywhere in the world, America, UK, let me know your answers down below in the comments as well. And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing, as well as to follow me on social media. But until the next time and the final installment of the last Small Axe film, which I'm really looking forward to, I'll be seeing you soon.